If you liked Irreversible, you're gonna love The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
So get this, you guys. Hundreds of years ago, Merlin had a couple of apprentices.
Sure.
And as movies do, his apprentices are Nick Cage, Monica Bellucci, and Alfred Molina. One thing leads to another. Alfred Molina's evil, gets locked in some sort of urn. Hundreds of years later, Nicolas Cage he's searching the world for like his apprentice, the guy that's going to take over what he's going to do. Runs into this little kid, the young version of Jay Baruchel.
10, I believe, at the time.
He knocks some shit over, and they end up getting locked in more urns. We finally get to present day.
It's 2010.
To the day.
To the day. To the day.
Jay Baruchel comes back. He's older. He's just as awkward as he ever has been.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage finds him, and he has to help Nick Cage take down Alfred Molina.
Yeah.
Because Alfred Molina is going to destroy the world.
He always will, I think.
Aaron, I don't know of a worse day to open a movie than the same day that Christopher Nolan's Inception comes out, which is easily the most anticipated film of the summer.
Right.
However, all the trailers for this movie I've been kind of optimistic about.
Right.
I enjoy Jay Baruchel a great deal.
She's out of my league.
She's out of my league. I said it wouldn't make my top 10 of the year, and I was like, that's why it was in my top 5 of the year so far. It's gonna make my top 10. Just deal with it,
People
you bastards.
just stop listening, I think.
They're like, no.
They're like, this film podcast is bullshit.
I couldn't imagine a worse day for a movie to come out. I've been optimistic. Nick Cage is crazy.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think our expectations are very high, but what do we get?
I think, I mean, we've talked about how this
I'm checking the
series of films that have come out this summer. I mean, week after week, we're reviewing. I reviewed Predators last week, which I was not a fan of. We've done Twilight. We've done The A-Team. We've done Splice. And I think that had this movie been released in a different summer, I may have thought of it a little differently. Yeah. But I think it's a pretty solid little entertaining movie, and I think one of the major strengths of it is Jay Baruchel, and I think that, I mean, if you don't like Jay Baruchel at all, you probably won't like the movie, because I think that a lot of the humor comes from his kind of nerdy, shy, awkward shtick that he does, which I think is excellent. And the special effects are actually kind of eye-poppingly incredible at a few moments. I mean, there's people going into mirrors, and like there's a reverse world that takes place where
the whole car chase scene. There's bits of it in the trailer where they're going into glass and the cars transform. It was all very effective.
Very well shot and all that sort of stuff. And I thought the acting, I mean, there's literally a scene where Nick Cage shapeshifts into like a police officer.
He's got a mustache.
And he has a mustache, and he's doing like this awful New York accent. Yeah. And anytime you have Nick Cage being crazy, like, I mean, we love Bad Lieutenant, and that's one of the main reasons, because he's crazy. It's good. And I think that probably the main reason that I was so entertained, I guess, by it is that I think that on its own as a sorcerer type of movie where there's just magic and everything. I mean, you and I talked about how I could care less about Harry Potter.
Yeah, they showed the trailer before and I fell asleep.
Yeah, they showed the trailer for that and Chronicles of Narnia. I'm like, because fantasy, it doesn't interest me. But what The Sorcerer's Apprentice has for those people out there who are like me that aren't super into the fantasy genre, it has two things that I think are going for it that other ones don't. Is it has Jay Baruchel for one, which I've already talked about, but two, it has a very sweet little love story, I think, that I at times was more interested in than the actual sorcery that was going on. I think that, you know, it's a fun little film that's not hurting anyone. I think that if it came out any other week, it would probably be doing immensely well. I would recommend you go, I mean, we haven't even talked about it yet, but go watch Inception 5 times and then go see this.
Yeah.
If you had to see one other movie besides Inception currently, and you've already seen Toy Story 3, you should probably see
Night and Day isn't even playing anymore. And I was a little disappointed with the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Because I didn't even mention that.
The first 20 minutes is all like ancient magician shit.
And there's so much voiceover in that opening description.
A lot of unnecessary exposition that I don't think you really need. If you read, whenever I read the IMDb plot synopsis, it's like, oh, Nicolas Cage has to train Jay Baruchel to take down Alfred Molina. I go, stick with that. Don't do too much to it, because the first 20 minutes of this movie is so much unnecessary exposition. And when it finally got, I mean, it takes a good 15-20 minutes to get to when Jay Baruchel actually enters the movie. Right. And when he did, I thought the movie totally came to life. Right, yeah. I think he really is the strongest aspect of this movie. It's kind of like if if the star of Harry Potter was Ron Weasley instead of Harry Potter. Like, I always thought Ron was the more interesting character. He's funny, he likes girls, this and that. And I think Jay Baruchel, I love the guy.
He's awesome.
And when people talk shit on Jay Baruchel, I think the guy's got talent. I think he comes across very sweet. And I think he is a very convincing awkward nerd. I've always identified with him in every movie I've ever seen. I think he's quite good. And I also think another thing this movie has going for, along with the love story and Mr. JB, is the fact that this is in a modern setting. This movie takes place in New York. It's not Hogwarts. It's not castles.
It's not a fictional
friggin'
place.
Candles floating around. Like, you see architecture.
There are mops floating around.
You get architecture coming to life in New York. You get that big fucking bull that comes to life. And I had a good time.
Yeah, and I think there's a few like key stuff, or not key things, but scenes that play in the movie that I think there's a really cool homage to Fantasia.
Right.
Where the mops kind of clean everything themselves, and I think they even actually play the same exact score.
I think it's the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Is the song.
Is that literally what it's called?
I think that's what it's called.
And I thought that was all good. I do totally agree with you about the intro. There's literally like this whole, I believe on the screen it says like 757 AD, and it's like, the backstory is like, once upon a time in a land far away. I was like, you don't need that. Like, it should have just opened with, and there's also
opened with Jay Baruchel, because that's where the story actually
begins.
begins.
there's also an opening sequence. I mean, it's setting up the love story and everything, but where he's passing the note, like everybody, you've done it, where you pass the note to the chick in second grade and you're like, check the box, friend or girlfriend, and she checks it and sets it down, and not this gust of wind blows it away, and he's literally chasing after it like it's like $1 million, like it's like flying everywhere. And I mean, that stuff is maybe not, it's maybe a little more oriented towards kids, and maybe not.
The beginning of it, I was like, oh shit, this is a kid's movie.
Yeah,
like,
it
felt
is
like
PG.
a kid's movie.
It is rated
but
PG.
after that, I felt like it became more accessible to all ages. When you have child actors in the beginning, I was like, shit.
This isn't like Flip.
Where's my notes?
I can't find it. But I do think the movie is entertaining. I do not think it's absolutely incredible, but it's a fairly entertaining time at the movies. And if you're looking for an alternative after you've seen Inception numerous times, I really don't think, I mean, you and I have been talking about this summer, just the slate of movies that are coming out in the future, not even that's already happened, and I'm just thinking, like, there's not going to be anything. I
mean, it is sad when we're genuinely looking forward to Step Up 3D at this point. Like, it's something like, oh, that's going to be terrible, but it's probably going to be entertaining. I'm looking forward to Charlie St. Cloud more than I am, like,
that trailer is rough. Shit. We're not going to talk about trailers today, but that one is.
We got a chance to see the Charlie St. Cloud trailer on the big screen last night before Inception.
What a movie to put it like right before, right? It's such
pretty weird. But there's that moment in the trailer when his ghost brother kicks the ball back to him. Audience burst into laughter. The trailer finished. Everyone burst into applause.
It's amazing.
It's for the Efron.
It's the Efron for the win.
Yeah, Sorcerer's Apprentice. It's harmless.
It's harmless. It's good. It's entertaining. I mean, I think if you're not desperate to go seek out a movie in theaters, I think a rental would be totally fine for it. I probably wouldn't pay if I knew this ahead of time and wasn't, going to the movies every single week like we do. I probably wouldn't want to pay $12 to see it or something. But it's entertaining though, and Jay Baruchel's amazing.
I was surprised. I mean, it got me to chuckle.
Yeah,
it was a chuckle fest.
And we talk about too how many movies nowadays feel so much longer than they actually are, and I think The Sorcerer's Apprentice, I remember reading actually before we went, I believe it's 2 hours or almost 2 hours, and that was a good 2 hours for me. It felt like I wasn't like, oh, this is going on forever.
When it started wrapping up, I was like, oh, it's over.
The progression was very nice of the film. It's entertaining.
Yeah, I would recommend it. There's not a lot out there.
Yeah. So
what else are you gonna do?
Do what you got to do.